I guess my first question is, when did the elites ever care about the working class?
It's a really good question. It's funny because it used to be that the Democrats really, because all of their success was bound up with labor and the working class, they really did take a very kind of active role in protecting wages. As far back as recently as the 1990s, the Democrats were the hardliners on immigration because, supply and demand. If
Yeah.
you bring in more workers, you're going to lower wages. Like, it's the most obvious thing in the world. And then when they started catering to the kind of over-credentialed elites and the dependent poor and cutting the working class out of the picture, then there was really two parties who just didn't care at all.
Right. And it seems like from your book that is how you found that, like, the working class feels. They do feel abandoned by everybody.
Oh, yeah. I mean, something that really surprised me was, you know, there's only one thing that working class conservatives hate more than the Democratic Party, and it's the Republican Party. Like, they feel really pimped out by conservative elites, even though they agree with them on culture war issues, because they feel that they've been abandoned economically by both sides. And, when I say this, people often ask me, oh, well, then why is there no third party in America? Why is there no success of a third party candidate? There is an incredibly successful third party candidate, and his name is Donald Trump. He is not
Right.
actually a Republican by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, he's much more similar to the Democrats in the 90s than he is either to the Democrats today or to the Republicans of today.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I think he is like a third party candidate, whether people realize that or not. And how
Did you watch the rally last night in the Bronx?
No. He was in the Bronx?
He was in the Bronx, and it was so amazing because
Did you go?
I didn't go. I couldn't go because I volunteer Thursday nights. I hate to miss it, but I watched it live, the whole thing. He went on for 2 hours, and it was so amazing because it wasn't that the whole crowd was Black and Hispanic. Obviously, a lot of his supporters had come, but there were many, many, many people from the Bronx who were Black and Hispanic at this rally supporting him. And Trump really, he really shines when he is among people who he can feel like, who he feels love him. Like, it really brings out like the best of his qualities. He basically did an hour and a half long stand-up routine that was, it was just so funny and so him. And you could so see that he was connecting with this crowd, which is totally predicted in my book, by the way, because the divide in this country is not racial and it's not political. It's along class lines. And so working class people of all races have a lot more in common than they do with the elites, even on the same side politically as them. But it was really amazing because, something that really came across to me was when you see like AOC or Joe Biden or even Barack Obama speaking to crowds that are made up of people of color, they do that thing that liberals do, like that this Yale study found that liberals do when they talk to people of color, which is they present lower competence. Like, they change the way that they speak when they're talking to Blacks or Hispanics. And Donald Trump really does not do that. He was 100% himself. And there was a real just contrast between the speech he gave in the Bronx and the speech that President Biden gave at Morehouse, which is a Black male college, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, a commencement speech. And, Biden's whole speech to these people was, this country is racist and everything is stacked against you. And you're probably going to fail because this country is so racist and you have to work 5 times as hard as a white person. And Trump's message was the exact opposite. It was sort of like, I want to talk to you about opportunity. Pick a business that works. Look at what is in front of you and make good decisions. And, it was just so it was so the way that, at least the people in my book who I interviewed want to be talked to, which is, tell us about opportunity, talk to us like adults, talk to us like we matter, talk to us like we know what's best for us. And it was just so staggering to see that, like, just on display. Plus, he was very, very funny. I mean, he was making people laugh because he's an extremely funny person.
Yeah, he's an entertainer first.
Yeah.
I mean, people seem to forget that about him often too, that he was an entertainer. I'm like, the guy is objectively hilarious. You can hate him all you want, but he's still going to be hilarious. And that is just something you're going to have to deal with. as he was rising up in 2015, 2016, talking to working class family members of mine who are very much like of the how first of all, how do you define the working class? I think that's really important, and you do a good job of it in your book, because I think we toss around working class and it's like, is it the middle class? Is it people who have trades? Is it people? And I really love how you got kind of granular with your definition.
Thank you so much. It was very difficult because it's a really hard thing to define, um, especially in a country like America, which likes to see itself as like a classless society, which we aren't anymore. We have a class divide that is entrenched. And the thing that makes it entrenched is that whether you have a college degree now predicts how much money you make, how long you'll live, how healthy you'll be, whether you will own a home, what movies you watch, what food you eat, and it is being passed on from one generation to the next. And so it has become almost a caste that is inescapable because each of these things will predict all the others. So if you tell me
Right.
what TV shows you watch, if you say Game of Thrones, I can guess within, probably certainly like, how much money you make and where you live and what zip code you live in and how much money your kid is going to make and how much money your parents made. I mean, we've become very class based, which is horrible because it is the thing that this country was founded on to escape. But so the way that I define it in the book is, I wanted to get at where was the dividing line between the people who had those much better lives, much better predictions for their lives, and the people who were really struggling. And the definition that made the most sense to me was people who work in industries that do not require a college degree, who have been locked out of the top 20%, because being in the top 20% and working in the knowledge industry in a kind of job that requires skills you pick up in college, those things are the things that are very correlated with what we would consider to be the American dream. There really isn't a middle class anymore because the people in the top 20% are an elite. They are making 2, 3, 5, 10 times the median income. So they're not really in the middle, although they talk about themselves like they're middle class. They think about themselves as middle class. I use middle class in the book to describe a lifestyle that used to be something many working class people could achieve, which is, own your own home, be able to retire in dignity, have access to affordable healthcare, and your children have at least as many opportunities as you do. And there certainly are working class people who are living that middle class lifestyle, but they are few and far between. And the amount you work does not predict for whether or not you can achieve that. It's kind of a crapshoot. And that sucks. That really sucks because you can be a lazy knowledge industry person and be assured of a middle class, life, the American dream. And you can work 3 jobs and work your ass off as a working class person and be always poor and always struggling. And that is not right. And that is not okay.